Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. My wife Sherry thought I didn't know about her plans. She thought I was stupid, or at least didn't know about her growing romance with colleague Todd. She believed that I would let her cuckold me and that I would accept that she would use him to continue to be her husband. She had something else to do. She had no idea that I had been suspecting her for a long time. I noticed changes, clear signs of infidelity, things like working late often, bed updates to her wardrobe. I tried to talk to her about it several times, but each time my concerns were ignored. Sherry, of course, denied that anything was wrong. She said it was just my self-doubt and my possessiveness working overtime. So I had no choice but to hire a private investigator. I refused to remain blind to the truth. I will never tolerate my wife cheating on me. I made this clear from the very beginning of our relationship and repeated it many times during the 10 years of our marriage. So, with mixed feelings, I sat in the office of private investigator Jake Sloan and listened to his report. I was relieved when he made it clear that Sherry wasn't cheating. However, this relief was short-lived when he added the word, "by." As he explained, my wife was having an affair. It just didn't come to anything bedtime, but it was only a matter of time. It seems that Sherry and Todd were, as they say, working spouses. I hated that term. Sherry had only one husband, me. Some may find this expression sweet and harmless, but to me it meant that she was having an intimate relationship with someone else. Well, as it turned out, that's exactly what she had. According to the private investigator's report, Sherry and Todd had lunch together every day, just the two of them. They were holding hands and sitting next to each other. He provided many photos of them hugging, sometimes even kissing. I was furious with what I saw and wanted to strangle that smug jerk Todd. In addition to lunch, the lovers often worked late together, although there was no good reason for this. It was as if they wanted to avoid going home to their respective spouses and siphoning as much of our time out of each day as possible. The detective told me that he was able to trace Sherry's emails and messages. I knew it was completely illegal and I would never be able to use it in a divorce. In our country, divorce for adultery was possible, but difficult. No-fault divorces were much easier, and I didn't need to use evidence for that anyway. I just wanted it for my own purposes. Sloan refused to give me copies of the real messages. He wouldn't even let me see them. Instead, he offered me a summary of what they contained. He assured me that my wife had never spoken disparagingly about me. Todd tried to humiliate me several times, but Sherry wouldn't let him. Well, I think it could have been worse. Emails and messages confirmed their romantic relationship, although neither of them confessed their love. While I was sitting in his office, considering my next steps, Sloan told me the worst news. Todd's wife was leaving town for 3 days to visit her mother. The lovers decided to take the opportunity to meet and end their relationship. The only thing standing in their way was me. They weren't sure how they could spend the night together if I was still around. Since I wasn't going to leave the city, it would be almost impossible. They were thinking about a variety of plans. One of them had to tell me that Sherry was going on a girls-only weekend trip. She was afraid that I would talk to one of her friends and find out the truth. She didn't want to involve anyone to create a viable legend, so the idea was rejected. Then they thought about getting me to leave town. I laughed bitterly, remembering how Sherry had suggested I arrange a golf trip with my buddies. I was not interested in this, which also brought down this option. Finally, they came up with a new but straightforward approach: honesty. Todd believed that I was a cuckold in the making and that I would do anything to keep Sherry as my loving, happy wife, including allowing her to have an affair with another man. Somehow, he made Sherry believe that by using him, she would help improve our bed life and our relationship. He convinced her that all she had to do was tell me what she planned to do with Todd, and I would give up and let her do it. Obviously, this asshole didn't know me, but what surprised me the most was that Sherry bought into his nonsense. She should have known that I would never tolerate this. If she doesn't understand this, then she's mentally unstable. Sloan told me that was all they had, so I took what he gave me and went home. I asked him to keep following Sherry's messages and let me know if anything changes. Sloan called me on Friday and informed me that Sherry was going to meet me the following Monday after work. She was going to tell me that she was going to go on a date with Todd on Friday night. This date started with dinner and dancing, but ended with the couple spending the night in a hotel room making love until they lost consciousness. She prudently returned to my house on Saturday or maybe Sunday, depending on how much love they had. Sherry and Todd rehearsed her entire speech and convinced themselves that I would accept her demands. They knew that at first I would be upset, even angry, but Sherry was going to assure me that it was just one time, even though they both knew it wasn't. She was trying to tell me that she would make love to me later as a reward for my understanding. Knowing that Sherry and I hadn't made love in months, she assumed that I would be so happy to have Todd's sloppy seconds that I would agree to her wishes. How nice of them to think about my needs. I only had 2 days to prepare for the confrontation. Sherry and Todd jokingly called it an intervention. I'll be damned if everything goes the way she imagined. I decided that I would turn their interference into my prohibition. I spent the weekend going through script after script, trying to figure out what I was going to do and how I could fix my marriage. First, I had to decide if I wanted to fix it. I wasn't sure I knew. While I was thinking about how I felt about Sherry, my plan of action developed organically. I decided to deal with it directly and end it forever. When we first got married, Sherry and I seemed blissfully happy. We spent all our time together, sharing everything we had experienced in life. She was my best friend and my best lover. Somehow, it all seemed to disappear. Maybe that's how it works. Nothing lasts forever. Perhaps my view of marriage was rather old-fashioned and idealized. I thought that we would become a team, go through life together, fight side by side with the trials and tribulations that would befall us. Sherry and I had been married before, but unsuccessfully. If this marriage didn't work out either, maybe the problem wasn't with us. Maybe it was the institution of marriage itself. How can people expect to preserve feelings, desires, interests, and passions when fate insists on being fickle and finding ways to change everything and everyone? In a world of 30-second sound bites, fast-paced culture, social media, and instant gratification, perhaps marriage, like dinosaurs and CDs, is outdated. I thought if Sherry wanted to be with Todd, maybe I should just let her. Then I woke up and came to my senses. There's no way in the world I'm going to let her cuckold me. I may not want her anymore, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let Todd get the better of me by claiming my wife. To hell with it all. I was ready for a fight when my wife called me right after lunch on Monday. "Hey, Sherry," I said, "is everything okay? You never call me at work anymore." "I hope everything is okay." "Hi, honey," she replied. "Cute? Really? Did she use that epithet in relation to Todd too?" "It's okay. I just wanted to make sure you'd be home on time today. I need to talk to you about something very important, so I need you to be there." "Oh, good," I replied and added, "Yes, that's good, because I have important news for you too. I have to be home at 5:15 or so. Will that do?" She didn't answer right away. When she asked, it was only to get information. "Big news? Which ones? What is it?" she asked. "I'll tell you tonight," I said, and decided to end the conversation. I'm in the middle of my monthly report. I need to do this so that I can leave on time. "I'll see you at home." I hung up the phone and walked down the hall to my boss's office to tell him that I was taking the rest of the day off. He didn't mind, and that was good. I had a few things I needed to prepare for the ban. I was sitting at the kitchen table when at 5:27, I heard the garage door open. I was nervous, but also very angry. I tried my best to keep my outward calm, while unbridled emotions raged inside me. I had an open bottle of Sauvignon Blanc with ice and 2 glasses ready. 2 minutes later, the door opened and Sherry walked in alone, dropping her keys and purse on the table. I was glad she hadn't brought Todd with her. That would complicate things. I smiled. "Hi, honey," I said, repeating the affectionate expression she used during the day. "Welcome home. Do you need some time before we talk? Or do you want to get right to the point?" She was overwhelmed by my immediate desire to talk. I think she figured we'd get to this eventually and wasn't ready for it so quickly. I won't let her get the upper hand. I wanted to keep her on her toes and keep her unprepared. She had everything she planned to do and say worked out in detail, so I had to be as disruptive as possible. I didn't expect you to be sitting here waiting. But yes, I think the sooner we start, the sooner we can continue our evening," Sherry said, coming over and sitting down across from me. "If you don't mind, I'll tell you my news first." "Do you mind?" I asked rather insistently. Uh, no, she said hesitantly. It's okay. Okay, would you like a glass of wine? I asked. I didn't wait for her answer. I poured us both a glass and put one in front of her. Yes, that would be great, she said with a sigh, lifting her glass and drinking half of it. I filled her glass as soon as she put it down. So this is something I've been thinking about a lot. I began. I'm not going to beat around the bush. There's no point in dragging it out. I paused, deliberately trying to create tension. It worked. Sherry leaned forward and looked at me intently. What's the matter? What is it? She asked. I want a divorce, I said bluntly, and waited for her to get it. It took about 3 seconds. Sherry's face betrayed her thoughts and emotions. First of all, she was confused, as if she didn't understand the words I was saying. Then she realized what I had said, and she was shocked. Fear and anxiety quickly turned to surprise. She was afraid that I might find out about her affair with Todd. Why? What is it? She asked, afraid of the answer. I don't love you anymore, I said. It looked like I'd stabbed Sherry in the chest. What are you doing? She asked, struggling with my statement. I've stopped loving you, Sherry. I don't remember exactly when I stopped loving you, I lied. I knew exactly when. It was so long ago. I tried to ignore it as much as I could. But lately it's been getting harder and harder for me not to face the truth. What are you talking about? What is it? She asked. She looked like she was about to cry. I was surprised by her reaction. Do you remember when we first got married? I asked. Remember how we spent all our free time together? If we went anywhere, to the store, to the cinema, to the mall, anywhere, we did it together. As if we couldn't bear to be apart. She nodded. I remember, Sherry said. We both had jobs, but we tried to have lunch at least twice a week. And we couldn't wait to finish work so we could hurry home and be together. I missed you so much every day and looked forward to coming home, kissing you and making love to you most of the time. We had common hobbies. You made me go to those stupid pottery lessons with you. Do you know how much I enjoyed doing this with you? I thought you hated pottery, Sherry said, staring at me intently. It wasn't about ceramics, it was about sharing my experience with you, I told her. I loved every minute of it. I loved watching you do it and helping you. I was delighted with your enthusiasm. It was the same with the painting of those damn Christmas Village buildings. We bought about a dozen of these little unpainted houses, which we painted together to make an exhibition for Christmas. It was exhausting, but we enjoyed it. Yours have always been better than mine, Sherry said. Do you remember how many nights we spent together at the table, applying paint to the tiles? Sherry nodded again. I loved you so much back then. We also spent hour after hour coloring those big posters that you picked up during your trip to Myrtle Beach. It was long before adult coloring books were in fashion. We still have hundreds of these colored pens, but, like our love, they all dried up. Sherry visibly shrank. My love has not dried up, she retorted defensively. I ignored her and continued. All our friends talked about how they envy us. We did everything together. We took long walks every day, holding hands. If I had to run to the hardware store to refill the weed trimmer line, you'd come with me. If you wanted to go shopping for clothes, I'd tag along and wait for you at the locker room. Yes, but you hated it. She challenged me. You'd be on the phone all the time. You didn't look at the clothes with me. I didn't care what you chose. I thought you were beautiful in everything. I was there to be with you. I could stay at home and watch sports. We talked about how other women in the neighborhood would get together to play bingo or have hen parties, but you never wanted to go. Do you remember what you told me about why you didn't participate? Sherry wiped a tear from her cheek. Yes, I remember. You said you don't want to hang out with the chickens when you can hang out with me instead. Many nights we cuddled under the covers and watched you get mail. I like this movie, Sherry said, fighting back tears. We must have watched it at least 100 times, I said, refilling her glass. I still want to watch it with you, Sherry exclaimed. I don't want to get divorced. I thought we'd grow old together, take cooking lessons, do ballroom dancing, or just lie in bed and read books, whatever, while we were with each other. But we've grown apart, Sherry. I don't know exactly when it started, I said, staring into my wife's eyes. We went from having lunch 2 or 3 days a week to a weekly lunch. It was Sherry's doing. She once told me that she didn't have time to have lunch out of the office that often. It was a lie. She was still eating outside. only she decided to do it with someone else. And then, before we knew it, we stopped having lunch together altogether. I started joining my colleagues for lunch. Over time, I found myself enjoying their company, perhaps even too much. I was exaggerating, but I tried my best not to put the blame on Sherry. I didn't want to force her to defend herself and start resisting. This conversation can deteriorate very quickly or turn into swearing. That wasn't my goal, at least not yet. And then coming home early to spend time with each other stopped being so important. We worked later and later. When we finally returned home, we were often distant or distracted. Why didn't you ever talk about it? Sherry asked. If I knew that this was important to you, I would try to have lunch with you more often or not work so late. You're right, I said, agreeing with her, even though I've said it many, many times. I wish I could understand why it's not important for you to be with me. Maybe if I did, I could change or do something to make you want to spend more time with me. I think I have failed in this regard. It seemed to me that I was taking responsibility for our separation. This was far from the truth. I knew that if I hit Sherry and Todd first, we wouldn't be able to end the discussion without it becoming disgusting. I will never make her see my side of things. I'd be the controlling, jealous asshole. Before revealing what I knew, I wanted her to remember what we had and think about her role in destroying it. Gradually, we stopped doing almost everything together. You started going to your bachelorette parties. I started going to poker nights. You'd go to the spa on weekends. I would go play golf. Sherry, we could go days without talking about the weather or the latest news. Our bed life has also started to suffer. We were often too tired or in a bad mood. When we first got married, we couldn't break away from each other. We made love 4 or 5 days a week, often several times a day. I caressed you while you were cooking, and we skipped dinner and made love all night. We went to the hot tub all the time, having fun all the time. We haven't had a hot bath in over a year. I thought you didn't want to make love anymore, Sherry said. I have no idea where she got this idea from. I think she justified her behavior by trying to make it my fault. Oh my God, no, I said with a laugh. I never stopped wanting to make love. I just stopped wanting to make love to you. I knew it would hurt deeply. What? Sherry asked, her voice breaking. I don't think she expected such words from me. You didn't want to make love to me? I've lost all interest in using you, I said point blank. You were a cold fish. You were just lying there. You've never wanted to do anything exciting or even remotely naughty. It seemed to me that you wanted to get this over with as soon as possible so that you could return to something more interesting, like knitting. All this time, I still wanted weekend marathons like before. You didn't do it. Sherry objected. No, don't you remember? You insisted that I use condoms to make love, even though you were on birth control. What are you doing? She shouted. She seemed completely overwhelmed by the possibility that I wasn't enjoying making love to her. Good. My plan worked. Sorry, Sherry, I said, plunging the knife deeper. It's me, not you. She stared at me for a few moments. Her tears dried up, and her face turned red. I wasn't sure if it was out of anger, frustration, or embarrassment. I filled her empty glass. She took it and took a long sip. It was just a matter of time, I continued. Before we started looking for someone else we wanted to spend time with. I didn't mean myself, but she didn't know that. Are you cheating on me? What is it? She suddenly asked angrily. Have you fallen in love with someone else? Sherry, you know how I feel about infidelity. I swore an oath to you when we got married, and I take that oath seriously. I know that your first husband cheated on you, just like my first wife made love to a colleague behind my back. I would never do that to you, just like I know you would never stoop so low as to try to cuckold me by using another man. How could you think that I would do this? I'm sorry, she apologized. You're right. I know you won't do that. She looked guilty and couldn't meet my eyes. Her hands were shaking. We'll wait for the divorce to make love for the first time, I said, clearly hinting that I had a new love interest. Which brings me back to my main news. I have already met with a lawyer and completed the documents. You're supposed to be served on Friday. Wait, what? What is it? She asked, becoming desperate. I told you you'd get your divorce papers on Friday, I said, trying not to smile. It's better this way. This way you can regain your freedom and do what you want. And me too. We can admit that the last 10 years have been a waste of our time and move on. They weren't a waste of time for me. Come on, Sherry, I said. I think you want this as much as I do. I mean, let's be real. You haven't wanted to be with me for a long time. Our wedding was a mistake. I'm not the person you want to be with. No, it's not like that. She objected. I don't want a divorce. You can't get divorced just because you want to. I don't want to divorce you. I want to be married to you. Forever. I love you. I'm sorry, Sherry, but I don't love you anymore. This is a state of no-fault divorce, so we can just split all assets 50-50. I mean, it's remotely possible to get more than half of the assets, but that's only if one of us cheats and we can absolutely prove adultery. But none of us are cheating and are unlikely to do so before Friday, right? So we can make a clean break. I'd like you to come to the bank with me tomorrow so we can split the money from all our accounts equally. You will have to open new accounts, get new credit cards, and change all utility bills. And we're going to have to sell the house. A realtor is coming to me on Wednesday to put it up for sale. Wait, you're in too much of a hurry, Sherry shouted. I do not know what to do. Please stop. She started crying again. Don't worry, I've already packed my things, and I'll be staying in a hotel room until I can move to a permanent place. You can stay here until the house is sold. Wait, damn it, Sherry shouted. Please wait. There's no need to wait, I said. Is that right? We shouldn't put it off any longer. I mean, we have to take care of everything by Friday, isn't it? Why? What's so damn important about Friday? What is it? She demanded. Well, you're going on a date with your boyfriend, Todd, on Friday, right? Isn't this the day when the two of you plan to spend the night at a hotel together and make love all night? Sherry froze. Her eyes seemed about to pop out of their sockets. Her mouth was open like a dying fish. She tried to say something, but only a hiss escaped from her throat. Did I make a mistake in the afternoon? Wait, I said, pulling out a folder from under a stack of Best Homes and Gardens magazines and opening it. I pulled out the sheet with the private investigator's summary report and shoved it between us, showing it to Sherry. I pointed to the part about her plans to use Todd on Friday night. No, I'm right. You see, it says here that you and Todd have booked a table at Gaylord, Texas for Friday night. It's not. She started, but I cut her off. Is this not what it looks like? I asked her, completing the sentence after her. Oh, do I need to show you the pictures of you and Todd kissing at lunch? She stared at me, and the tears started flowing again. I'm sorry, she said softly. Now I remember exactly when I stopped loving you. I said with a big smile on my face. I stopped loving you the day I found out that you were planning to turn me into a cuckold with your colleague, just like my ex-wife. I'm sorry, honey, she blurted out, desperately trying to convince me. I don't love Todd. It's just going to be an affair. Something to spice up our relationship. I'll spend the night with him, and then you and I will spend the rest of the weekend making hot love like before. Yes, that's how to spice up our bed life. Instead of making hot love to me, you're enlivening the situation by using someone else. Does that make sense? No, but… She couldn't even pronounce the phrase. She changed her tactics. Todd said you'd do it if you wanted me to be happy. I want you to be happy, I said. I want you to be happy with me like you used to be. I don't want you to be happy with another man. Are you completely out of your mind? How could you think that would suit me? You should have known how I feel about infidelity. Yes, but… She tried to find some way to justify her actions. It won't be infidelity. I wouldn't cheat. You will give me your permission. Not in this life, I said. I know that now. I should have understood that from the very beginning. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I was bored and lonely. Bored and lonely? How could you be bored and lonely when we were happy in love and enjoying all our time together? Me? I do not know, but… She began again. Have you ever thought that you're bored and lonely because you cut us off? You stopped having lunch with me. You stopped spending time with me and doing things with me. You decided to avoid me and put yourself in this position. You chose to spend time with him rather than with me. So, if you were bored and lonely, you created this state specifically so that Todd could get rid of boredom and loneliness. Me? I don't think I did it, she said, staring at me. She shook her head. No, I can't believe I would do that. I thought you stopped coming to my place for lunch. Because you told me so. Don't you remember? You've been telling me all along that you're too busy. And then one Wednesday, the day of our lunch, I picked you up, and you didn't even bother to come into the lobby and tell me you couldn't go. You texted me to go to lunch without you. After that, I stopped coming, and you never even mentioned that we stopped having lunch. I don't think you even realized that. Sherry looked down at her hands. You were so absorbed in your world that you didn't notice that you were losing me. You were all about yourself and Todd. Well, now you can take it. I don't need him, she snapped, looking up at me. I want you. I want us. I want us to be the way we were before. I'm so sorry. I screwed up. I gave up on us. It's too late, I said, shaking my head. You can't think like that. I didn't cheat on you. We didn't do anything. I won't see him again. I swear. I'm quitting my job. I'm going to work somewhere else. Please, I don't want to lose you. I still love you. You cheated on me in every possible way except one. But this is the most important thing. We didn't have any lovemaking. I was stupid. I was crazy about Todd. I didn't love him. I've always loved only you. I don't know what I was thinking. I would have dealt with him and returned to you as soon as I got rid of it. But now it's over. I can see it now. I know. It was stupid. I was stupid. Todd means nothing to me. Please, baby, please. Don't leave me. It's not that easy, Sherry. And why can't it be? I screwed up. I did it. But you stopped me before I went too far. You've already gone too far, I disagreed. Only making love would seal the deal. I didn't do anything. We were just friends, she exclaimed. You should have been friends with me more than with anyone else, I said. I have a lot of friends. I don't kiss them. I've never wasted any time on them. I've never replaced you with them, and I never plan to use them and make you accept it. Sherry put her head in her hands, sobbing. I will never neglect you or take you for granted again. I swear. Please, can't we treat this as a big mistake? Can't you forgive me and give me another chance? This is not a fucking Monopoly where you can get jail from a free card, I told her. You didn't just make a big mistake. You left our love and gave your heart to another man. No, he never had my heart. My heart has always been yours. And you were going to give him your body? But I didn't do it. You stopped me. Damn it. Don't you love me enough to fight for me? Do I really mean that little to you? You meant everything to me. I would fight with anyone for you. I would die for you. Now, I wouldn't piss on you even if you were on fire. Sherry let out a high-pitched scream. She grabbed my arms and tried to pull me towards her. No, please. You can't think like that. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You have to believe me. I think you're sorry, I said. It shows me that you're not exactly a self-centered and heartless fool. Then can you give me another chance? Please, I'm begging you. Please don't leave me. I'm not leaving you, Sherry. You did it yourself. I truly believe you're sorry. Maybe someday I can forgive you. But it doesn't change anything. I don't love you anymore. It's over. But don't worry, you always have Todd to comfort you. Todd is married, she said through sobs. He only wanted to use me. He didn't want any relationship. I chuckled. Well, now he can change his mind. I'm sure his wife had something to say to him today when he got home. She and I used the same divorce lawyer. Sherry's jaw dropped again. I pushed a folder across the table to her. The investigator's full report is here, along with photos of you and Todd. His wife has a copy. There is also all the information from my lawyer about the divorce and how we propose to divide the property. I suggest you read it all. No, baby, please, she begged. Don't do this. If you want to go to the bank with me tomorrow, call and let me know. I got up from the table and left the house, ignoring the sound of my wife crying. Sherry was struggling with the divorce. I didn't want a lengthy and expensive trial. Therefore, when the judge suggested contacting a marriage counselor, I agreed. The consultation helped more than I expected. Sherry and I got in touch with our feelings. We talked about everything, openly and without judgment. She was able to understand why she was the victim of Todd's advances and almost lost me and our marriage. I was able to explain my pain and the humiliation she caused me. The advisor was proud of our progress. After a few sessions, I returned to the house. A year later, We became the loving couple we were when we first got married. Sherry changed jobs and now worked for my company. We went to and from work together and had lunch together every day. We didn't do it because we felt obligated or controlled. We did it because we wanted to be together. In fact, we did almost everything together. We set up a small Christmas village and finished painting 2 paintings that were abandoned many years ago. We enrolled in another ceramics class and signed up for ballroom dancing. I even found a box with all the colored pins. To my great surprise, they still haven't dried out. One evening, when we were cuddling under the covers, eating popcorn and watching You Got the Mail, Sherry kissed me and said, "Darling, I need to talk to you about something important." I saw tears welling up in her eyes. I felt my heart skip a beat and started to panic. Before I could say anything, Sherry continued, "You're going to be a daddy?" I smiled and wiped the tears from her cheek, saying in my best Tom Hanks accent, "Don't cry, saleswoman." Good. So I'm just obsessed with a happy ending. Sue me.